Snake Island is thriving and filled with life, but it's just as inhospitable to people as the other places on this list. It sits 21 miles off the coast of Brazil and hosts some of the world's most venomous snakes. Some people claimed that there could be as many as 500,000 snakes in total. That turns out to be an exaggeration though. In reality, there are likely only about 4,000 venomous snakes. The movement of the Earth trapped them on the island many years ago. Initially, there was a strip of land connecting the island to the mainland, but over time, changing sea levels and land movements cut them off. The snakes and a few other animals were left to live on the island in isolation. It isn't just that you shouldn't visit this island, you're actually banned from setting foot on it, unless you have a special pass for researching the island's wildlife. This measure is in place to protect people from the venomous snakes and to protect the rare species of snake from humanity. The only man-made object on the island is a lighthouse designed to help ships avoid the island. When it was built and automated, humans left the island forever. Other dangerous places have been created by humanity itself. One of the craziest is North Yungas Road in Bolivia. This is a 43-mile stretch of road that winds through the mountains. The narrow trail is cut into the cliff side with a sheer drop on one side. If you looked out your window, you would see a 2,000-foot drop into a seemingly never-ending chasm. It's described as a cycle path, but you can often see huge trucks traveling along this road. This can cause huge problems because the road isn't wide enough for two large vehicles to pass each other. About 300 cars go missing here every year. The constant rockfalls, waterfalls, fog, and rain make this place even more dangerous. Bolivia is home to another dangerous place that you wouldn't want to risk visiting, Madidi National Park. The park is a vast jungle, larger than 20 New York cities. The whole area is filled with dangerous plants, animals, and insects. It's highly discouraged to visit this park without being accompanied by experts. Unlike humans, some living things can survive in incredibly hostile conditions. The gateway to the underworld in Turkmenistan would be completely impossible to visit for any human being. The terrifying crater was made when a gas field collapsed in on itself. This freed all of the dangerous gases, so scientists decided to set it alight to prevent it from poisoning the surrounding area. The fire was lit 50 years ago, and it still burns today. The temperature at the bottom of the crater is extremely high, but some bacteria have found a way to survive, even here. These bacteria are entirely unique to this one small area, and they live entirely engulfed in flames. Similarly, life can also exist at extremely low temperatures. Scientists drilled a borehole 12,000 feet deep into the ice of Antarctica. On these excavated pieces of ice, they found an unknown bacterium. We don't have any idea how it could survive such extreme temperatures. What's more, bacteria can exist even in space. Scientists found bacteria on the outer surface of the International Space Station. It spent 3 years there at extremely low temperatures and intense solar radiation, and still, it survived.
This underwater city needs no room for speculation, as we know its origin. Lion City. It's still in almost perfect condition. Arches, statues, decorations on the walls, and even wooden structures. All this has been preserved at a depth comparable to a subway car length. At the dawn of this city, an advanced and very powerful society lived there. Some finds there are about 1,300 years old. In 1959, the city was flooded in order to build a new hydroelectric power plant. So, in place of the great city, now stands human-made Qiandao Lake. For decades, this place was forgotten until 2001. A tour of divers accidentally stumbled upon it. Now this place is popular among experienced divers from all over the world. Baltic Sea anomaly. This thing has generated a lot of disputes and conspiracy theories around the world. It was found in June 2011 in the Baltic Sea. The object is similar in shape to the Star Wars Millennium Falcon and was like a hockey rink in length. Many people believe this is an alien flying ship that crashed on our planet. Others believe it is the remnants of an ancient city sank in the waves many years ago. When divers finally managed to get to this strange object, they took samples and gave them to scientists for analysis. This stone formation was part of a glacier, of which there is a lot in that area. However, the team that found this anomaly continues to claim it's more than just that. They say when they approached this object, all electrical equipment just stopped working, and when they were coming back, the equipment would come back to normal. Now, to see this underwater city, you can dive even without scuba gear. This is Heracleion, also known as Tronus. It is located at a depth about the length of a school bus. This city is at least 14,000 years old. Its ruins were found by the French underwater archaeologist Franck Gogio in 1999. Many coins, dishes, and unfinished statues of the deities were found there. In 2010, the ancient Egyptian boat Barus was raised to the surface. Despite the huge number of archaeological finds, only 5% of the city have been researched yet. When you think about Antarctica, you probably imagine a vast land of sheer frozen whiteness. Well, that's pretty spot on, except where the penguins have been standing around. Whoa, what a mess. Until your eye gets caught by a blood-red waterfall spilling from the icy walls. Located in the McMurdo Dry Valleys, this rust-colored liquid runs out of fissures in the Taylor Glacier, looking like something straight out of a horror movie. For a very long time, scientists couldn't figure out what the reason was behind this crimson fall. At first, they believed that red algae gave the water its gory tint. But new studies found that iron oxides, or basically rust, are present in the water. Now, islands are not supposed to move, right? Tell that to the mobile islands on Loktak Lake. It's the largest freshwater lake in northeast India and home to floating islands called fumdis that move in the water during the rainy season and sink during the dry months. These patches of grassland consist of matted vegetation and soil that's been thickened into a solid form. And if you walk on their spongy surface, it kind of feels like walking on a trampoline. Despite these islands constantly moving, locals build their huts on them because most people in the area earn money by fishing in the lake. There's even one with a school on it and another with an entire national park. The Hagar Kim, meaning standing stones, site in Malta was completed around 3000 BCE. Some Stone Age genius, most likely using stone tools, managed to set the rocks in such a way that they could show the beginning and end of the year. On March 21st and September 21st, the sun is exactly in the middle. 3,000 standing rocks were spread over present-day Brittany, France, in the Neolithic period. After centuries of trying, scientists still can't tell the purpose of this largest collection of rocks in the world. It looks like it was created by a culture related to Stonehenge, which means travel and technology may have been in place long before we realized. In 1923, a guy in Florida who was dumped the day before his wedding started putting together the Coral Castle, a monument to lost love. How a 5-foot-tall man with a 4th-grade education managed to lift stone blocks 8 times as heavy as a hippo all by himself will, of course, forever remain his secret. Baalbek in Lebanon is a huge stone souvenir of the Roman Empire. They used to call it the City of the Sun. The oldest and deepest part of the ruins was built by a culture unknown to historians. So is the answer to the question, why was this spot so important to the Romans? The Great Zimbabwe ruins were once home to 18,000 people and gave name to a whole country. The first European explorers came here in the 16th century. They couldn't believe a civilization was able to build such a fortress among the gold mines. Their drainage system still works centuries later. One of the biggest mysteries in history is the Great Sphinx of Giza, Egypt. Who was the lion with the human head? How did the ancient Egyptians manage to construct this huge statue? They kept no records, and perhaps they didn't want us to know, since many attempts to study the Sphinx result in mysterious accidents. Antikythera mechanism. Say that with me, Antikythera. In 1901, a crew of sponge divers discovered the wreckage of a Roman cargo ship as deep as a football field is wide. The crew collected many valuable artifacts, statues of bronze and marble, pottery, jewelry, and a computer. What? A computer on a Roman ship? Well, the Antikythera mechanism is considered one of the oldest analogs of the modern computer. For years, scientists couldn't understand what kind of mechanism it was, but when they tested it with X-ray, everything changed. It was made by the Greek masters and is dated approximately 100 to 150 years BCE. The Antikythera mechanism turned out to be a complex machine consisting of about 30 bronze gears. It was used to follow the movements of the sun and moon and to predict eclipses. This underwater find didn't bring $20 billion as the treasure of the wreckage of San Jose, but the knowledge it gave to historians and researchers is priceless. Here's another one. Two divers were going to photograph blue sharks, but their lenses caught something more amazing – a giant jellyfish. As the divers themselves said, it was like a massive boiled egg which appeared out of nowhere. It was a barrel jellyfish of abnormal size. The thing was almost 5 feet in diameter, and its length was almost like the divers themselves. This is the biggest jellyfish ever found in the British seas. Although they are considered non-dangerous, they are still gentle giants. Meanwhile, this discovery in a Brazilian river will make you stay away from diving. A giant anaconda. Bartolomeo Bove and his partner filmed one of the biggest anacondas ever found. It had the length of an adult giraffe and weighed more than the average human. And while Bartolomeo got used to swimming near sharks, mating this snake was an adrenaline-pumping exercise for him. Thankfully, the snake was quite curious and harmless. One of the most interesting places for diving is surprisingly far from seas and oceans. Orda Cave. It's found in the west of the Ural Mountains and is shaped like a siphon. The underwater part of the cave system stretches for 3 miles, so this makes it one of the longest underwater tunnels on our planet. But its most outstanding feature is water. The environment rich in minerals cleans the water and makes it crystal clear. Divers can clearly see at a distance of 150 feet. This means that Orda Cave is just the perfect place for underwater photography. Like that giant octopus about to get you. Ha! Made you look. North Yungas Road in Bolivia is one of the most picturesque and most hazardous roads in the world. Just imagine biking along a cliff trail at a mind-numbing height, overlooking the lush Bolivian jungle and misty mountains at a distance. What a view! But as soon as you realize you're riding on a 10-foot wide stretch of road, some of which isn't even paved, you might get skin crawls. And for good reason. Over 200 folks tumble to their demise each year on this devious mountain climb. And the absence of any guardrail doesn't help at all. Now, if you're more into walking, consider the Hussaini Bridge in Pakistan. It's officially the most dangerous hanging bridge in the world, but hardly the only one in the country. It's a long and nerve-wracking traverse over Lake Borit, with many planks of the bridge missing and the whole construction creaking ominously in the wind. Still, the place has become a major tourist attraction, although the old and broken bridge visible nearby only adds to the impression that you're inevitably going to fall to a screaming end. Well, at least you can be thankful that the lake beneath is not Lake Natron in Tanzania. If you fall into water, you still have a chance of survival. If you fall into the waters of Natron, not so much. The pH levels here are a skin-melting 10.5. What passes for water is more like an alkaline soup. No wonder this place is so peaceful. Pretty much nothing wants to live here. And yet, flocks of flamingos come to Lake Natron to breed every few seasons, and it becomes a white-pink paradise for the period. Positively. Which can't be said about the Danakil Depression in Ethiopia. Despite its beautiful, otherworldly landscape, it's perhaps the loneliest place on Earth. Yellow, orange, and green mounds are made of salt, sulfur, and iron, creating views like nowhere else on the planet. Yet the combination of temperature and toxic minerals makes this place absolutely unlivable. Researchers coming here haven't found even microscopic life in this valley. Really, like another planet. Beautiful and desolate. On the other hand, there's an island that's bubbling with life, yet still you don't want to be there. It's called Snake Island, and the name says it all. It's chock full of snakes. In fact, there are so many of them, especially the venomous varieties, that Brazil has forbidden access to the island to any and all visitors. But even if it wasn't closed off, not many would be brave enough to go to a place where a single step offshore could land you a venomous bite. Now, I'll bet that Fly Geyser in the middle of the Nevada desert was created partly because humans became jealous of that. This place had been just another bit of desert until 1916. People came here to drill a water well. They quickly saw the error of their ways, though. The water came out boiling hot and unfit for drinking. 50 years later, there was another attempt, but the same thing happened. We don't learn, do we? Anyway, hot water never stops spewing from under the ground, and today we have a massive geyser cluster colored in shades of red, orange, and yellow.